Hi, and welcome to this video. My name is Yannis and I want to share with you some super fun Berlin School inspired sequencing approach in Ableton Live, but you can totally transfer this to every type of hardware or software setup. And what I like so much about it is that it's technically really complicated, but practically really simple. And you can quickly turn it into some super cool ambient performance setup, which I will also show you in the end a little example of. And this being said, let's just jump right into it. So that's our basic setup, and you can actually download the template for free if you're interested. I'm going to put a link down below in the description, but you can also use your own sound. I just have some drift sound here. Drift is great because it's available in all Ableton versions. And this is just some sound that works great for making those melodic sequences. And I'm using some delay. It's like a ping pong one with left 16th notes and right 8th notes. Again, you can also find it inside the template. And also I'm using a little bit of reverb. But I don't want to focus on sound so much because this video really is about a sequencing technique. And we don't use the MIDI clip of drift because now we could start programming a sequence here, but we're not going to do it since we're using some approach that gives us different cycles of notes that have different lengths of repetition. That's basically the whole idea. So we create a first MIDI clip, we put it in front of drift, and then we make sure that we send the MIDI to drift. So now we program our MIDI clip here, but the MIDI gets played through this channel. It's good to think of a scale you want to work in. I think I like minor, so we're going to work inside a minor scale. And maybe we start at C2 or C3. And we need a number, for example, 5. So or maybe let's start with 6. So we program a note here and another note after 6 positions. So actually we have 1 position here and 5 free, so overall it's 6. And then we also change the cycle to 6 notes. Actually we could also do this, then it's maybe easier, but if you make maybe 2 notes, you can add some variation, maybe add another note later. So let's keep it like this. So now we basically send this 12 bar sequence to drift. That's our first little sequence. Now we can basically create a new MIDI clip. Again, make sure that we send the MIDI to drift. So we send it to 3 drift, create a new clip, and now we select another number. Maybe this time we would like to have 5. So we choose another pitch. This time it's E flat, and this time it's a group of 5. So it would look like this. Again, I used 2 pitches, could also be just 1, would look like this. And let's see how this sounds like. Already quite interesting rhythmically. Let's create another MIDI track. I mean, you probably get the idea already. We can still modify individual parts after a while, but I like to start in this way that I just compose the notes and don't think so much about them. Maybe at a certain point it's great to bring in some quarter notes because they give us some stability. Actually, let's just make a full bar of quarter notes. They don't have to be on the 1 necessarily, you can also put them on the offbeat. Let's add another track. So we could also use a group of 7, and let's use the A flat, which is a very charismatic note in the natural minor scale. So we leave 6 positions free. It's a little bit like math, but it creates some super cool effects, and we also need to make sure that we send it again to the drift synth. So 5 drift. And yeah, let's see how this works. And you you may ask yourself, why don't we always hear all notes? I didn't mention yet, we're on a mono setting here, so we can only play one note at once, which is nice because if we have a poly setting, we always hear those notes. It also sounds interesting. But the Drift synth has this great mono mode where you can also fatten up the sound. And I like that it's another random component here because it can only play one note. So if two get sent into Drift, it can only play one. Most of the time, I think it's the lowest one or the highest one. I forget. I didn't really understand what note gets triggered. But that's actually okay because we want to have the variation. And yeah, I just really enjoy the sound here. And remember that, I mean, it's a very chaotic sound in a way. I don't find it chaotic though. I think it's really mysterious and promising because you kind of look for orientation, but in a nice way. It's also really hypnotic. But once you add a kick drum, for example, it immediately sounds like some hypnotic techno track. So if you need some more orientation, you can, for example, consider bringing in like a, I don't know, some 909 kick maybe, just for orientation. And you turn this from ambient into techno quite quickly. And I think that's already all you need for making some cool ambient techno type music. Of course, could be faster. I'm gonna stick to the ambient version though, but just as a little idea. And we also need some higher notes still. And because, I mean, you get the picture, but in a second I also share with you some additional thoughts on making this even more interesting. So we could also use the higher C because octaves are great. And maybe here we just use a group of 3, but only using the last position. And then it would be a group like this, like a 6-step sequence. Still need to send it to Drift. Maybe one more. I usually like ninths a lot, so like the D but some octave higher. So let's, and I mean actually we have a quite busy melody already, but I also want to make it obvious. So we can use a very sparse sequence where we only have like a D on the 3rd position. Or maybe we put it here as well. It can also be some irregular rhythm. As soon as you bring in a new note, the sequence changes again, and it's so interesting. And you can also look at all of them at the same time. So here you basically see all the overlap, but lacking some notes. Ah yeah, this is basically how it looks like. And I think it even calculates the whole sequence for the total amount of time that it needs to go back to the 1. So you can actually see what's happening. So with the colors, it's kind of a cool visualization. By the way, in case you enjoy this video and also feel like supporting the channel, you can quickly hit the like button and be also warmly invited to subscribe, because you can find many videos about Ableton Live and sequencing on my channel. And also be known that I have some additional content like online classes, sound and sample packs, and also I offer one-on-one coachings. So if you connect to my teaching style, be warmly invited to check it out. The links are down below in the description. I really love it. I mean, I like this kind of open, chaotic type sound. It's up to taste, of course. And now we can refine it, because now every sequence is running at a 100% chance. And for example, I actually like to have the bass notes more often, so we can keep them at 100%, but maybe change the other ones to another probability. So here on the bottom row, you have the chance setting, and you can decrease it. Maybe let's change it to 50 for all of those sequences. So we have the bass more often, and also we have fewer notes, because now having them all run at 100% also adds some quite chaotic touch. But I mean, the main idea is just having different clip lengths, and one clip is just one tone. I think that's a super fun concept and also makes the whole idea really simple. And then let's see what we get out of this. So fun. And while it's fun to listen to it, you can also quickly turn this into some really practical performance concept. And you can use MIDI controllers for that. I'm just gonna quickly show you the controls that are most likely to work for everybody. So now we have a couple of clips here, and I think if you have some launch pad, that's great. So like something like this one, because then you can see the clip colors and change between them. Maybe let's focus on this first. So I'm gonna show it to you here. So this you would basically do on your launch pad, but by choosing the clip combination, you can start to slowly build up the arrangement, because if you start only with this clip, it's just a few triggers. And also rhythmically, you don't really know where you are. It makes it interesting for people that listen to it to kind of look for the feel and the groove. And then at some point you add another one. So you really increase the sequence pitch by pitch, and all those pitches have individual lengths, which makes it also rhythmically intriguing. It's especially nice if you start with the higher pitches and kind of wait with the bass for some later moment to bring it in. So this is for the musical content, and with Drift or your synthesizer, it's really great to change the filter frequency, or here I do it with the envelope, because there's quite some envelope applied. So if I decrease this amount, you get this super interesting sound. So you play a bit with this. Maybe it's nice to mute parts again at some point. Mess with the sound. This is a very sick sound. I think you get the idea, and this is so fun and really it's a super complicated approach, especially if you would try to play it yourself, but those individual clips are actually not so complicated, so it's kind of fun that you can do this with a DAW. And also, you can record still the MIDI into drift. So if you want to have some fixed sequences, or you want to let this play and look for some areas that you like, particularly like, and maybe you also want to transfer this to a hardware synth, you can just play everything and record it. So I'm gonna press the record button, and then you can see that we will record the MIDI into this clip. It still records the double notes, so you have to maybe delete them at some positions, or if you transfer to another synth, maybe it reacts differently to the MIDI, so that's what you need to do. But yeah, it's sometimes handy that you can also record the stuff that is actually happening here. And I don't know how many bars this actually takes in total. A lot. Because here you can see, after 12 bars apparently, oh, this is not even bars, it's like, what's the increment here? No, it actually is bars, so it would need 12 bars, actually 11 bars, to resolve back to the 1. So that's actually super fun. So here you can see it, it looks really confusing. But I just hope that you enjoy this technique and have some fun. You can apply it really to every type of instrument. Also, if you have a sequencer that can send different sequences, it also works really well. And now a next step would also be to add some generative functions. So while you actually have the generative vibe through the individual clips, you can also modify the sound with LFOs and stuff. And I actually made some video about making sequences more generative. So warm invitation to check it out. I'm going to link it here. And apart from that, I wish you lots of inspiration with whatever it is that you create, and really hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye.